Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Emily Brulat. If you're French, it's Emily Brûlée, and she's going to be making a delicious recipe from her sauce book. Please welcome her to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Chef AJ. And are you able to see me?
Yes, I am. And I gotta just say, you're beautiful, but the thing that I'm noticing most is your teeth are perfect. How do you get such perfect teeth? Is it the vegan diet?
Thank you. It's the vegan diet. I do get asked this all the time. And I think between that and like flossing my whole life is really it. I've never professionally whitened them. So, I mean, maybe genetics too, but I think it's the vegan
Right. Well,
diet.
yeah. And how long have you followed the vegan diet or plant? Some people prefer plant-based, but I like
Yeah.
vegan because it's more inclusive that you're doing it not just for your health, I think.
Yeah. I have been whole food, plant-based, oil-free for 8 years now, which is wild because I'm like, I just started this as like kind of another diet to try out, and like lo and behold, I've never looked back.
Well, so what initially propelled you to do this 8 years ago?
Yeah. Okay. So I moved from Washington to San Diego, and I went to the University of Washington, where I got my degree in like sociology, criminology, nothing that I'm, doing now. But moved to San Diego, had a fabulous, fun 20s, and was bartending, but kind of just lost on like my direction of where I wanted to go. And someone introduced, have you heard of the integrative or the Institution of Integrative Nutrition?
Yes, I have. They do like they certify coaches, right?
Yeah, certified coaches, and kind of just give you a plethora of different nutrition information, nothing specifically like plant-based, but they do introduce that. And I was kind of trying to think of like how I came upon Dr. McDougall, and I think they had mentioned like forks over knives or what the health in there, and I just found out about him and got his book and just went down a rabbit hole. I had always wanted to eat this way, like, carbohydrates and in abundance. And I was just like, there's no way this would work for me. So I kind of did this like 90-day experiment to almost prove him wrong. Like, this won't work for me. Well, lo and behold, I did 90 days, and like my entire life changed. My the weight just started to come off. I had debilitating stomach issues for almost 10 years, like in and out of the ER, just not knowing what was wrong with me. And acne and all of that just like diminished. And my life as I knew it was forever changed because I was just like, okay, this is like the secret that everyone must know about.
Wow. Had you heard about it? Or because in San well, you live San Diego, I think there's probably a lot of
Yeah.
vegan. Had anyone around you already been vegan or
No, I was like my alone soldier on this. Like, I felt very isolated because I didn't know anyone in my real life that was vegan, maybe vegetarian. I mean, San Diego, I lived in a very much of an area where everyone's like keto or paleo or you name it. But no one vegan, or even more specifically, like high carb, low fat. So I was finding out this on my own. At the time.
that's so cool. Well, thank you for joining the club.
Yeah, nope, never going back.
Yeah. Well, so criminology, what is that? Like what if you had what does one
Um,
become with a degree in criminology?
yeah, I I don't know, maybe doing, I mean, like I love like a good mystery or thriller, so like something along the lines of like detective work. I don't know. I mean, I was like 19, 20 getting my degree, just kind of like wanting a degree. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still very interested in all of that, like Dateline. It's just like that is, so intriguing. But as a career, I don't really know what I was thinking at the time.
What was it interesting?
Oh, so interesting. And like sociology classes are, and I even use it to this day of like how I'm coaching clients of just like the background of like why we do things, and even just with food and eating and all the emotional attachment with that, like I really do think it has played a role in like who I am as a coach. I'm trying to like understand about myself and my clients with the tie between emotion and eating, and I think that all stems from my sociology background.
So since going vegan, have you been able to influence any other people, like friends and family, to take the plunge or do the 90 days?
Yeah. So I wanted to bring this up too. So after my 90 days, I then I reached out to my dad because he had had cholesterol issues my whole life. He had always been on cholesterol medication, and started gaining some weight. I think at that time he was 55. And I was just like, Dad, okay, if you will do this for me, I first said 21 days because I didn't want to scare him. So I was like, if you can do this for 21 days, um, just give me the opportunity. And if you don't feel any better, okay, fine. We tried it. And he gave me the 21 days and he started feeling so good. He just kept going with it. And within, I think it was like 3 months, his cholesterol went from like high 200s to like 146. And I think it was 3 or 4 months and he lost 55 pounds. And it has been 8 years now with him. He would not consider himself like vegan or 100%, but I would say 90% of his diet is still whole food, plant-based, high carb, lower fat, and has kept the weight off. And he hasn't gone back on any cholesterol medication.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So he was, I'm like, okay, everyone is kind of like, you're in your 20s, this could work for you. And I'm like, no, this can work for everyone. And then my 55-year-old dad at the time did it. And then also my brother has now been vegan for 2 years. So I got my brother and my dad fully on board.
That's great. So were you working as a chef when you lived in San Diego?
Okay, so funny story. So I was bartending at the time of going through the IIN, and then I just became enamored with like the starch solution and how I could tweak recipes, any recipe, like all of my favorite, mac and cheese or pizza or anything like that. How I took these recipes and made it starch solution, so like oil-free, dairy-free, meat-free, and it became an obsession, a hobby. And I was just loving learning how to cook. I never knew how to cook before. And during that time, I was like cooking for my roommate, my neighbors, and they kept kind of being like, Emily, you should maybe try and sell your meals, like maybe you have something. And so I went on, have you heard of the Nextdoor app?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Facebook for like your neighborhood. And so I went on that, and I just put out there like, does anyone want whole food plant-based meals? And I got a couple people and it didn't really stick, but then I got one younger couple, and I seriously attribute me continuing that business because of them, because in the beginning it was awful. Like when you cook a hot and ready meal versus like a meal prep that should last for 7 days, two very different situations there, but they were so patient with me and like helped me work out the kinks with this business and still learning how to cook. And so, yeah, so for the first year, I was bartending full time, but on a Sunday, I would cook for them. So it was kind of just like a side gig, a hobby. And after the first year, I opened it up. I kind of started getting my Instagram going by sharing my meals. And I had like 2 or 3 other people, and I kind of just stuck with them for like another year. And then one thing led to another, and I started picking up more and more people, and it kind of just boomed. I was doing like 100 meals in a few days. And out of I lived in a 300 square foot beachfront apartment. So I was living and I was working out of this. I had 3 full size refrigerators in this little box apartment. um, so it was a hustle. I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was prepping, I was delivering all throughout San Diego during that time. So that's kind of how I got my start, and I would say my street credibility with the food and knowing how to cook this way. But that wasn't sustainable. So I reached out to my clients and I was like, would anyone actually want this service, but privately. You can tell me what you would like me to make you every week. And that's, so I got 3 clients who stuck, and then those 3 clients were all for different reasons. One of them actually reversed his heart disease through this way of eating. The second was an athlete, and then the third, she was for weight loss. So then I curated this lifestyle and became more of a private health chef, which was, a lot more sustainable, and I could actually breathe a little bit.
Nice. Is that what you're doing now in Washington?
So now, okay, so during that cooking time, I was still continuing my education of nutrition, and I actually went through the 12-day McDougall program, and that is when, so this is a couple years ago now, I was 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I started getting really into kind of the more calorie density aspect of it, and even more weight loss for me and weight goals, and kind of understanding just like how food works, I guess. And I started sharing this on my Instagram and my own journey and my kind of weight loss and health goals. And everyone kind of started to ask me questions like, how am I doing this? And one thing led to another. I started doing these 10-day challenges, which I still do. And they started to become bigger and bigger. And basically, they were like 10-day whole food, plant-based, low fat challenges. And I was giving them a crash course on this way of eating while doing it. And they were maximizing their results in those 10 days. And then after that, it started to, people were reaching out to me on doing one-on-one coaching. And so little by little, I have just like grown this business. And now I am retired from the cooking aspect, and I'm just fully doing one-on-one coaching for weight loss or whatever health ailment, and then running my challenges as well. So but during that time, I did come out with my exclusive sauce book, which is, what I'll be making today. So came out with the sauce book, and now am a coach full time.
And it's good because so you learned that when you went to IINN or IIN, I'm always.
Yeah, and I always get that confused. The cooking part.
Yeah, I mean, just everything, like how to coach people, because you say you mostly you
Oh,
just do when you run the challenges, is it just for one people or for lots of people?
yeah. So the challenges, well, they were getting up to like 50 people from all around the world. I am now minimizing that because it was just getting way too big. And then the one-on-one coaching. And yes, IIN did teach me how to be a coach, but primarily it's just from working with client to client, pretty much thousands, I would say up to 1,000 women at this point that I've worked with. And mostly just kind of self-taught with knowing all the information and going through the nutrition classes. That's been more of the coaching and the experience over IIN, and nothing about IIN. I've learned so much in these past years of working with clients.
How do your clients find you?
Instagram. That's been the main way so far, which is so funny because I'm like, I started this Instagram account just to like showcase my food, and then all of a sudden it's like turned into this is my business, and this is how I find clients. And I got promoted a couple years ago by Forks Over Knives, so a big chunk of my following, it comes from them, which is all, like-minded people. So it's really great. I have a very authentic, genuine following for people who really want this lifestyle to work for them.
That's so cool. How did Forks Over Knives find you? I'm always curious.
Yeah, they found me because I had posted one of my like meal prep meals. This was in my early meal prep days as a chef, and I don't know if I tagged them or what, but they messaged me and they were like, "Hey, this meal's beautiful. Can we post it on our Instagram?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, absolutely." And then overnight, because they had tagged me, I got a huge chunk of following. And again, it was all like-minded people. So I was like, this is amazing. And so definitely attribute my success to them as well.
Thank you.
finding.
That's so interesting. I love it. I love it. I'd love to see how people get where they are. Now, you said you took the McDougall program. Was that when it was online?
Yeah. So I had looked at it, when it was in person and I was toying around with it. And then obviously COVID happened and it went all online. And I was like, honestly, this is the perfect time. There's no more excuses. Like, I'm not going to have to take off time for work or whatever. And I just signed up like really early on when they offered it online. And then, yeah, went through the program. And that is really the turning point of when I went from my cooking career to the coaching and yeah, understanding the whole, getting results and everything with food. Before when I've been on this diet, because I've been on or lifestyle, been on it for 8 years, it was more so just like my health and like I felt so great. But then I started getting yeah, I wanted to help people with this and and so that's kind of where the turning point went with my career.
When you went to the McDougall program, you'd already been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah, for I mean over 5 years at
Oh,
this
so
point.
you didn't really go for any particular health challenges or weight problems?
No, I when I signed up, I think people, a lot, as you know, a lot of people are there for health reasons. I think they were kind of curious as to why I was there, but it was solely just to get more information and educate myself and yeah, because still at that point I wasn't in the mindset of wanting to coach this. This was all just to better myself. And I've been enamored with this lifestyle and just learning. And so I knew I wanted to do another education course. And I was like, well, what better one, from one of my biggest mentors.
I love that, Emily, because we can't even drag the people that need it most kicking and screaming. And here's somebody I just think that's so cool. That says a lot about
Yeah.
the person.
Y-
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand, and especially with my dad. And I think my dad, oh, actually, back to the coaching thing, I think my dad was the best guinea pig because I started with him, and like we didn't live in the same area, so I had to call him and text him like about this diet. He did read the books, but I was telling him like what to eat, and he's a simple guy. He doesn't cook. He's single. He works all the time, so I had to make this very, very simple for him. And so seeing it change my dad's life was, I mean, I'm so happy about my own, but like to help someone else do it was really the biggest factor on like, I want to get more information so I can continue to share this. Which at that point it was just to share it on my Instagram.
Was I one of the instructors when you came?
You weren't there. I forget who was the chef during that.
Darn. Yeah.
I would know her name if you said it, but
Would it be Kathy Fisher?
yes, Kathy Fisher.
Nice.
Yes.
Because
So
I
she
think I
was
would
there
have
during that.
remembered you if you were in class,
Yeah. No, I was like such the nerd. I was the one. I did not miss a class, and I was like asked every question. I'm sure they're like, oh my gosh, this girl's asking a question again. But yeah, I was like starstruck to just be in it because I had been following it for 5 years and living, breathing that lifestyle, and it had become my cooking career at that point.
That is very, very cool. So
Yeah.
tell us about, how long does your recipe take? Because we'll try to balance the time.
Recipes really pretty quick. I already measured out the seasoning, so about 5 to 7 minutes.
Well, if you want, we
Um,
could take a little break from the questions if you want, because I do have more questions about you and your
yeah,
business. But if you want to start the recipe,
yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
fine.
And let me see. I'm have this little message on my phone. Oh, okay. There, I can see you much better.
Nice.
You can still see me.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I want to just kind of start with this is my gravy. And it's so funny because I made this recipe up in literally 5 minutes, and it is my most beloved recipe. People tell me they could drink it. So I decided to do this one for you. And again, yeah, super easy. So I'll just kind of do everything here because it's hard to, see on that side.
I am
But
obsessed with gravy. I just wish there were more things to put it on because
I
all I
know.
can think of most of the time is mashed potatoes. So
Right.
what else can I be putting gravy on? Because I do love
Um,
gravy.
I know, I know. I do. I mean, I seriously do even over rice. Um, and I don't know how you feel about savory oats, but I've had my clients do it on like make savory oats and do it on oatmeal. I have not done that, but I've definitely had it over rice before.
Yum.
Um, okay, so just two the you'll have the recipe, but 2 cups of veggie broth, and I usually try and do the low sodium one. And then, oh, what I'll do actually first. So for the thickening agency is I use arrowroot powder, but you can use cornstarch or just regular flour. I've always just like arrowroot powder for some reason.
Do you think you
But
can substitute arrowroot in general? Because the gravy recipe I'm doing now is for somebody who has
yeah.
a dog named Nora Cooks, and I'd love for her to come on the show and show it. It's my favorite gravy.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, she calls for brown rice flour. So are you saying
Okay.
a person could just substitute arrowroot if they wanted?
Yeah, yeah. Arrowroot, tapioca, cornstarch. I have substituted any of those three for any flour that a recipe will call for.
Good to
So what I actually do first, so it's not lumpy in the gravy, is I put the powder in here, and then I'm just gonna put like, I don't know, maybe 1 tablespoon of water, and I'm gonna pre-mix it in its own bowl first because I've learned can get kind of chunky if you just put it straight in there. So I'll just kind of mix that powder first, and then nutritional yeast. Put this on everything.
Yep. What you have a brand that you like? Fortified, unfortified?
Um, I just do the Brags, kind of whatever. I'm not specific on it. And then soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of this. Maple syrup. It's just a teaspoon, so just like
Just a little.
little bit. Okay, then I can put the arrowroot powder in. So then so I am pretty heavy-handed on like seasoning. So in my recipes, a lot of them call for like a teaspoon. You can always, if you don't like as much flavor, you can always half the seasonings. Um, and it calls for like fresh herbs. You can be as easy as just doing Italian seasoning. You don't need to do any other if you don't have them, but sage is really good, rosemary, chives are awesome. And you can use fresh, but I'm very simple and easy. So I've always just done the dried herbs, which are great. And then a little bit of mustard powder. And then these two, oops, probably can't see them, are optional. But onion salt, which if you're doing salt free, you can leave this one out. But this one is one of my favorites from Trader Joe's. And have you had this everything but the leftovers?
I've never seen that. That's from Trader Joe's?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can only get it like once a year during Thanksgiving. And so I stock up, I'll get like 10 of these. And seriously, it tastes like Thanksgiving. So
What are the ingredients? That's so cool.
um onions, nutritional yeast, salt, black pepper, turmeric, celery seeds, rosemary, and thyme.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a game changer. And so you don't have to have that, but if you can pick some up in the fall at Trader Joe's, stock up and use that on everything. Um, yeah, so those are two of my favorites. And then just onion, garlic powder, and I already pre-measured all the seasonings. So you just pour everything in one pot, and I think I got everything. Yep. And so then we will just turn this on high, do a little whisk. Once it starts boiling, I like to kind of continuously whisk it just so it thickens up. It kind of gets all the clumps out. But I'll let that boil. Yeah, so that one's really easy. A lot of my other ones do call for cashews, but on my recipe book, it does say you can omit any of the ones with nuts and seeds. And you can just use a can of drained white beans to lower the calorie density. So a ton of my clients will do that. If they do want to do the nuts, they'll just lower to a 4th cup of cashews in the entire recipe. So it still keeps it low calorie, but any of my recipes are super easy just to sub for white beans instead of cashews.
Nice.
Yeah. So makes it easy. And I'm, of course, like coach clients on weight loss, and we talk about the whole calorie density chart and everything. So I kind of help them navigate how to tweak any recipe and make it lower calorie. That's kind of my specialty. I'm kind of a wizard at like, give me a recipe and I'll make it, starch solution and compliant. I love doing something like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How long does gravy keep? I always wonder because I made some last week and I'm wondering if I can still eat it.
Oh my gosh, I'm like the worst at food. My boyfriend's like, that's probably gone bad. I'm like, it's fine. But I say like 7 days. I mean, sometimes I'll do 10 days with my recipe. I mean, there's no dairy in it, no dairy or egg. So I'll eat my sauces 7 to 10 days after I make them.
Yeah. Hey, this
But
is,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, but the gravy, honestly, I can't keep it for more than like 2 or 3 days in the fridge. It's so good. And I think, yeah, my clients would agree. But yeah, I think you'd be good to eat it after 7 days.
Nice. I wonder if you can freeze gravy. I've never tried. Maybe I should.
Yeah. Yeah. I do freeze a lot of my other sauces though, because they do kind of, it depends how many people are eating them. If it's just you, you can either half the recipes or just put it in the freezer. And then I'll just kind of put it on the stove and whisk it so it gets thick again. But yeah, I typically freeze a lot of my recipes.
Nice.
So once it starts boiling, then I'll let it boil, and then I'll just bring it down to like a simmer for 2 to 3 minutes, and then it starts to thicken with the arrowroot powder. Already smells so good. And then so then I did mashed potatoes. And with, can you see? My mashed potatoes. I don't know how you make yours, but I just do gold potatoes, boil, and then mash it with like a little splash of oat milk or veggie broth, and then just salt and pepper and chives. And that's all I do for my mashed potatoes.
Nice. I've been using instant flakes. They're amazing. I know people like, what
Oh,
kind of chef are you? But they always come out perfect and creamy.
oh, really? Do you get those at Costco?
I get them at Whole
Can you?
Foods, and Whole Foods says it's
Oh,
only a seasonal product. So like you with the seasoning, I stocked up on a ton
yeah.
of boxes.
Yeah, I do that with everything. I'm like, I'm gonna eat it. So then I just did Brussels sprouts. I just use the microwave. I've did the chef life of chopping and steam, like roasting all my veggies. But when it's just me, I just pop my veggies in the microwave. And then I have this like steamer basket. Have you seen this steamer basket?
That I haven't seen that one, but I have one from
Yeah,
Pampered Chef that I love.
yeah, I love this one. Got it on Amazon. Just do I have this one of my clients, she's in this world too. Her Instagram is starch solution or full and fulfilled. Her name's Liz, and she was actually one of my clients that I helped get her off of her plateau. But anyway, she makes these 50-50 plates. And so she makes them by hand. So they're really pretty.
That is very cool. Let me look that up.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I love that.
Yeah.
What's her name on Instagram? I'll look her up.
Okay, so starch solution, and
Mhm.
she has like an orange background.
Wow.
Or
That is a very cool plate.
yeah, I know. It's like so beautiful. Or full and fulfilled. Her name's Liz. And yeah, she is so fun and does the most creative things. Okay, so looks like the gravy pretty much done. And it thickens too, like a little bit overnight in the fridge. Smells delicious, but I'll just kind of pour it over. Ooh. Even my boyfriend, who is not plant-based, loves this gravy. He was like so excited I was making this gravy. So it's a hit with vegans, non-vegans. So it's
Oh man,
delicious.
that looks yummy.
Yeah. I could eat this every single day, and I'm not joking. I'm kind of a creature of habit. So once I find a sauce, I just go with it, and I will eat the same thing happily
Yeah.
every
So,
day.
so
So
what do
yeah.
people love to know? Every guest on Chef AJ Live, even if they're not even talking about food,
Yeah.
what do you eat in a day?
So oatmeal always. That is like my true north of just every day starting with oatmeal with a banana made with water, a little cinnamon, and salt. And then lunch I typically do like what am I doing right now at the moment? Just like broccoli. I love like I eat broccoli like it's going out of style. So like usually broccoli and cauliflower or Brussels sprouts, and then rice. And right now I'm just doing a little nutritional yeast flakes, and onion salt, and that's about it. I can eat very simply. When I first started this lifestyle, I was eating very extravagant because that was when I was in the height of my cooking days. And now I just eat very simply. And for dinner, I typically do like a stir fry. And I've been really into this Japanese barbecue sauce. Heather McDougall is the one who got me onto it. And so I'll just do a little bit of that. And it's like a rice stir fry every night. And yeah, I kind of go with things like my meal routine for a couple months, and then I get tired of it and I change it. I've been that way since I've been like 7 years old. And my dad's the same way, and so is my
Yeah,
brother.
it's so funny because I'm the same way. It doesn't matter what I'm eating. I've always been sort of a creature of habit. And so there's a lot
Yeah.
of people apparently that need a lot more variety, but thankfully I'm not one
Yeah.
of them. I eat the same thing for lunch every day, and I have for about 12 years now.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. And I end my night with like my fruit. It's kind of just like solidifies my day. I look forward to it. It is like a bowl of candy at this point. I've been doing that for 11 years and it works for me, and it's great. I work with clients that are kind of on both ends of the spectrum, either creature of habit like me or someone who wants all the variety. So we kind of figure out how to, make it work for all of us. But for me, creature of habit.
Yeah, I mean, but we like what we eat, though. We're not doing it out of punishment or deprivation.
Oh,
We just love it. That's the thing.
oh, I love it. And it's I don't know who has said this, but it's like what eat today, you crave tomorrow, or what you habitually eat, you habitually crave. And that couldn't be more true. Like my love for like broccoli and potatoes is real.
Let's say, yeah, what you eat today, you crave tomorrow. Do most
Yeah.
people that come to you, Emily, come for weight loss? Is that the main reason?
Primarily, yeah. I do, and it's great because this is all in one. It's like you don't need to eat a certain way for weight loss and then a certain way for health. It's, one-stop shop, which is great, but primarily weight loss. And I do work with a lot of clients kind of post-menopausal. I would say that's became kind of my specialty at this point. But I work with clients on all ends of the spectrum, whether they want to lose 5 pounds or 100+ pounds, or just kind of wherever they're at in their life. And we figure out how to curate this lifestyle to make it work for them sustainably, and not feel, like a diet. And I'm very thankful. Like I said, my following are people who want this to work. I don't have to twist their arm for them to want to like eat a plant-based diet. They are just like, I want this to work. Just let's figure out how to implement this, and with their family dynamic as well.
Did you ever struggle with weight?
Yeah, I on my Instagram you can see my before and afters. So I have fluctuated my whole life. I grew up as a competitive gymnast since I was like 7 years old, and unfortunately, fortunately, I, was very aware of body image, at a very, very young age. So I started the whole dieting thing as early as I can remember, and just did the yo-yo fluctuating, never could figure it out, did every diet under the sun. So you can see, like, on my Instagram, I'm only 5 feet tall, so I'm very petite. So the weight on me is very noticeable. So I've had my own weight loss transformation. And the one thing about this is it's been the transformation that stuck. I've stuck with it for 8 years, and from yo-yoing and all that exhausted, diet culture, this has just been incredible. And it's so great to finally find something that works.
Nice. Well, the reason I asked is because I clicked a link and you were featured as a McDougall, I think, what do they call it? The Star McDougaller.
Yeah, yeah. I know they featured me, and kind of just, I've dealt with a lot of eating disorders and different things like that. And it's just, I mean, this way of eating has just been what clicked and what has changed my entire life. And I mean, this is my true life. Like, this is what I live and I breathe. And the fact that I can teach this as a career and made it my entire career is pretty amazing. Cause I'm like, all day I just hang with my clients virtually, of course. And I'm just kind of like directing them on like what to eat, maybe tweak their plates a little bit. And I'm just like, this is how I live my life. So effortlessly. And I get to do this as a career too, which is, I pinch myself.
Well, in on the page, and we can link to it if you like in the show notes,
Yeah.
they have a picture of your dad too.
Yeah, yeah. And he looks really great. And he is the oldest he's a correctional officer at the jail, and he is the oldest officer there, and like in better shape than most of his fellow officers. And they're always just like, Brian, what are you doing? And he's like, I eat carbs and I listen to my daughter. And they're all in like the meat keto diets, and they're like, oh, no. He's like, all right, his health speaks for
But you say
itself.
your dad didn't want to stay 100%, right?
I would say he's like a little over 90%. Like holidays or something, he'll have some meat or whatever, but he's maintained his weight and he's kept all his cholesterol medication. So for me, I'm like, I'm happy with it. And I think he feels good, but he does feel the best when he is, eating whole food, plant-based diet. Like, you can always, he just knows that this is his like base diet.
Nice. And so, but is there anything for him to eat at the jail, or does he bring his lunch?
He always brings his lunch, and he always brings his potatoes, and they're just like, Brian and his potatoes, which is so funny because when I was in San Diego, people knew me as like the potato girl. And it's kind of like an ongoing joke, but yeah, they know him as the potato guy as well.
That's very cool. So, but now that you live near your family, you can cook like the holiday meals and everything.
Yeah. No, and my mom and stepdad, they're very open to this lifestyle. So when I moved back, I mean, they're all for my cooking, and I just kind of have to get my cooking spark back because, to be honest, I got a little PTSD from the amount of cooking I was doing and just the hustle and bustle of it. So I'm kind of starting to get my cooking spark back again. But I love cooking. I love cooking this way, especially for people that can appreciate it and know the love and health that come from it.
Right. Is your boyfriend whole food plant-based as well?
No, but he has really gone, so the oil thing, he is so mindful about not cooking with oil. We've really decreased his dairy intake, which I'm very happy about. He's very supportive, and I think, I'm never, as he respects the way I eat, I'm going to respect the boundaries with him, but he does feel really good eating this way. And he did my 10-day challenge, and he lost like 13 pounds and felt great. So baby steps. We're getting there.
All right. Now tell me, what is Chiari malformation?
Chiari malformation.
All right. Yeah.
So I had brain surgery at the age of 16, and it's very rare. And basically what it was is in simple terms, is my brain was too large for my skull, so it was protruding and it was starting to fall into my spine. So it clogged my spinal fluid from running, and basically that shot the nerves on my right side of my body. So when I was 16, I remember going to Spanish class and kind of just like wondering, oh, my hand's numb. And I kind of just thought, oh, I slept on it, funny. And then like day by day, it went from hand to arm, and then it started to go into my face, and like even my right side of my tongue. So then went and got MRIs, couldn't figure out what it was. I swear the MRI was like 8 hours long. And then finally sent the scans to Seattle, and they said it was Chiari malformation. And basically I had to have a brain surgery within, I think it was like 2 weeks. I had a very severe case. So they ended up taking an inch out of my cerebellum. And so to release that pressure. And then my spinal fluid to run again. But yeah, it kept me, it was, I think like 6 months. I was sophomore or junior in high school. So that was a big part of a lot of where my health issues started and stemmed from. And then of course, and having to end my gymnastics career, which was everything I had ever known. So that took a big toll on my mental and physical health, which is kind of where everything started like crumbling in that time of high school and college. But yeah, I'm fully recovered. I do have a little bit of different feeling from my right to my left side, but from eating a plant-based diet, it has helped my nerves tremendously. Like I don't even really notice the difference anymore.
That's unbelievable. Okay, I'm so happy that you recovered. Now, that wasn't something
Yeah.
that ever, until your hands started falling asleep, you had no inkling
Yeah.
you had this rare disorder probably from when you
No.
were born. Sounds like your head was
Yep.
big. Yeah.
Yeah, it's had no inkling, did not even know it was a thing. And I do know two other people in this small town that have had it too. And one gal, I think she was in her 40s, and she had no idea either until her symptoms came. So it's not something that it's, diagnosed right away. And some people I think can go their whole life without even it being a problem. But if it's a problem, it's,
That,
could
that,
be life changing.
that is so interesting. How do they diagnose it?
Um, I mean, I think everyone, it's through an MRI. I think everyone's symptoms are different, but they can see, the protruding. And then I actually had a syrinx that grew down from my spine that held the fluid in there. So they could see in the MRIs the syrinx that like grew down my spine. So yeah, they diagnose it through MRI.
I've never heard of that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long was your recovery, and was the surgery painful?
Gosh, yeah, the surgery in itself, I mean, it's such a blur. I was obviously on like so many pain meds during that time, but the biggest thing was just I went from being an athlete to just having to sit in a chair, sleep right, upside, and just do nothing throughout the day. And so I think the recovery was like 4 to 6 months, if I remember right, which, I'm in the middle of high school. I was a cheerleader at the times, and I had to shave, the back of my head. So it was really traumatic, and trying to navigate a life after the recovery from being a competitive gymnast of working out 4 hours a day, meets on Saturday, to nothing. I mean, that was the hardest recovery of all.
Wow. Well, congratulations. You look great now.
Thank you.
So no real big symptoms or anything from.
I had some memory loss during that time. I had some like memory loss that was happening. My balance was off, like I was, and then my muscles were weakening. So I believe what can happen is if, the nerves start to go, and then the muscle can go, and then it can go on your other side. So I'm so thankful I caught this so early on before it did permanent damage on my muscle. It does have permanent damage on my nerves, but I got all my muscle back. So very thankful. Again, if I would have waited, it would have caused, lifetime, who knows, I, could have been quadriplegic. But I caught it really quickly. And my mom is a nurse. So, right away when I told her that, she's like, oh, let's get in. And so very thankful I caught it, because
And you were
could have
16
not
when this
been.
happened, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from then I've had honestly like 15 surgeries, all kind of unrelated to the brain surgery. Like I've had both elbow surgeries, I've had carpal tunnel surgeries, cyst surgeries, like I had kidney stones before I went plant-based and kidney infection. I was a mess. And in and out of the ER with stomach issues. I think the stomach issues happened just, probably from all the antibiotics I had to take, with all the surgeries. Just my gut lining was so damaged. So yeah, I was a mess for a good part of like 10 years. And then again, the plant-based diet just turned everything around.
Well, it sounds like what you had, the diet probably didn't make a difference out. So like you probably had that from when you were born.
Yeah, but I do think it helped with like the inflammation and the nerves and just the healing process, and especially like my gut issues. But the brain surgery unrelated, yeah, to diet.
At what point did you lose the 55 pounds? Was that before taking the McDougall program? You already came there lean?
Well, my dad's the one who lost 55 pounds, and I have
Oh,
lost, but I've lost about, everyone always asks me, but in my first 90 days, I lost 17 pounds, and being 5 feet tall, that's quite a bit of weight. And then, since then I've kind of I fluctuated in between like my chef days when I wasn't really focused on, I guess, my body results and things like that. But I think after the McDougall 12-day McDougall program, I think I've lost like another 10. So I think it's around 25-ish pounds that I've lost total, and maintained and kept it off.
nice.
But yeah, so the first 90 days was my big chunk. And then I think after the McDougall program, it was a few months where I got off that other 10 pounds or so.
Nice, nice. Do you exercise? And if so, how much and what?
Yeah. So funny enough, I promote this on my Instagram, and I think people think I work out a lot more than what I do, but I'm a walker. I love walking. I've always been a walker. So I just walk, and I do a 7-minute arm routine 4 days a week, and that's it. Um, and I do outdoor things, like I'll go skiing on Friday, winter or snow skiing on Fridays. I like to hike, but yeah, for the most part, it's walking and my little 7-minute arm workout.
Very cool. Well, speaking of Instagram, I took a look at your page and I saw this post, and I'd love for you to comment because you did take the McDougall program, and the
Yeah.
line is the fat you eat in capitals is not the fat you wear. And interestingly enough, my good friend who has a regular slot on this show, Dr. Nikki Davis, actually made a comment on that post.
Oh, yeah. So I come with it because you can take so many meanings out of that. And so many of my clients take that one statement and they take it at face value. So they come to me and they are so scared to eat like an ounce of nuts or like 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. And they literally, honestly think they are going to gain weight if they have a bite of over fat. And so what I wanted to explain in that post is just like, it is putting this fear in people, and hundreds of clients that I worked with, that they can't even have an ounce of like whole food, nut seeds, avocado, tofu, or else it's magically going to just cause weight gain. When it all comes down to calorie deficit and how to, maintain your calories. So I wanted to kind of touch on that more, so it being like super scientific. I just think I have so many clients coming to me thinking it's a blanket statement, and they're taking it at face value, just literally thinking it's going to cause instant weight gain if they have one piece of tofu, you know? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I wanted
I
to
don't
say. I knew it was going to get
Well, but
controversy.
tofu doesn't have the same calorie density as nuts. Tofu it's got a
Yeah.
low calorie density and it's high in water. So I think
Yeah.
people are different though, because I would not be I cannot eat any nuts without gaining weight, and I'm talking an ounce.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
actually did an experiment with for 3 months working under the tutelage of Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer. And
Yeah.
people vary in how sensitive they are to the effects of fat. And maybe somebody that's never been
Yeah.
obese maybe can get away with it. But I just know that I think people are different. But no, nobody should be afraid of food. But I think the overall, like with calorie density, that's
Yeah.
it's going to come into play, what we're
Right. Oh, and I totally eat like a low fat diet myself. Like if I'm going to incorporate, nuts, seeds, avocado, like I've gone months, years without even incorporating them. My nutrition, I get blood work done every year and it's always like off the charts. My doctors are always like, what are you doing? And I've gone a year without even incorporating them. And so when I do incorporate them, I am extremely mindful. I portion out those sizes, unlike starches, non-starchy veggies where I eat in abundance.
right,
If
right.
I'm going to have some peanut butter, I am going to measure that out to a tablespoon because one, it's so easy to overdo. It packs on the calories so quickly. So if you're not mindful, and that is, the issue is like people just have way too much like overt fats in their diet, aka the calorie density chart. And so that's a problem. So I guess, I was trying to come at it just being like, don't fear like, a peanut, because my clients, seriously, I work with, and they really do think it's like they have one peanut in it instantly.
Oh my God.
So
No,
that's kind of where I wanted to
it's
come
not
with
one
that
peanut,
post.
but a lot of times people think if a little is good, a lot is better. And that's not always.
And that's what gets us in trouble. And I'm kind of an all or nothing person, or have been most of my life. So I've been a little is great. So a lot must be a lot better.
That's funny.
Not
Oh, and
always true.
speaking of your Instagram, I do like something you wrote very much. Instead of focusing on your dream weight, focus on your dream body. That's so good.
Yeah.
People, I don't really work in the weight loss space anymore, even though I wrote a
Yeah.
book called The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss. But I found that people were very unrealistic because they would have a certain body type, maybe more curvy than straight up and down. And it wouldn't matter how much
Yeah.
weight they lost, they're still going to be a curvy person.
Right. Right. And I've been my biggest guinea pig myself, and I got down to one of my lowest weights, and I still wasn't satisfied because I didn't have like I like to be toned. I was a gymnast, so I've just always liked to feel strong and toned. But during that time, I got to my lowest weight and I wasn't satisfied because at the end of the day, I wanted to feel good in my clothes. And I still felt kind of like squishy, it was just like what I was really looking for was a certain like feel versus like a number on the scale. So a lot of my clients are fighting for this certain number, and they think, oh, if they get there, that's going to be the end all be all, when it's like, no, really, there's a lot more. I think doing a little bit of a muscle, having muscle mass is great, and I think it makes women feel really strong, and maybe that's a couple more pounds in their goal weight, but they'll feel much better in their clothes, and stronger that way. So I really like to have my clients kind of see that side too, or looking at a weight range versus one specific number.
Because I've always said that your lowest attainable weight is not always your lowest sustainable weight.
Yes, and when I was at my lowest weight, I had to be 100%, 100% of the time, and I was miserable. That was no way to go through life. And I'm like, if I'm a few pounds up from that and I can live a life, yeah, and that's where I'm at now. And I'm like, it's made the world of difference. And so, yeah, that saying couldn't be more true.
I completely agree. Well, it was interesting when we were talking about, you're saying you have clients that will fear eating a peanut. When I've worked with people, and I find that more than even fearing fat, they fear starch.
Yeah, that too. And it's, we've had this whole like low carb diet ingrained in us, and I'm doing a lot of kind of talking with my clients like, please trust me, like trust my program, trust this, and it's hard because most women I are working with are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they've had this like whole low carb societal thing ingrained in them. So to undo that is a lot of undoing what they knew. And it's hard to undo that.
Absolutely. Yeah, another post I liked on your Instagram that page, and where was it? I just pulled it up. Some weight loss is extremely boring.
Yep. And I'm like, my boyfriend just laughs at me because he's someone who just has different meals every meal, does a different thing every day. And I'm like, I walk every morning, I eat the same thing. There's no, magic pill. There's no, it's sometimes I kind of forget to share my life on Instagram because I'm like, oh, people know this. It's boring. It's nothing, crazy new because it's not flashy. But it works. It works really, really well. And some of my clients, I have to kind of make them realize like this isn't some like aha moment you're going to get every day or be motivated every day. It's pretty boring. But boring's good. And it's gotten me to maintain and sustain this lifestyle for 8 years. I think people are looking for this like almost what would you say? Like a high of like trying new things. And it's like, nope, just, stick with what you're doing and repetition.
Yep, the fundamentals. And Andrew Spudfit Taylor, who's been on the show a few times, he lost 120 pounds just eating potatoes for a year. He often
Yeah.
make your food boring, make your life exciting.
Yes, exactly. And I make like whenever I'm like going to eat out or events or family dinners, like the food to me is I make it pretty small and irrelevant. To me, it's like the experience and who I'm going to see and my family. Like, a lot of people go to events and it's all about the food. It's like, what are we eating and everything. And I kind of go into it and like, I'm like, who's going to be there? Like, what's the event about? Like that's what I care about, because I have been in my life very food focused, like what people go to events like just for the food, which I guess I used to be that way, but now I'm like, no, I go for the people and the experience. And yeah.
Nice. Do you find that people are often unrealistic about how long weight loss takes?
Yes. I think that everyone wants the quick fix, but it's like I always ask them, because they're everyone wants to be like, okay, in your 9-week program, how much weight am I going to lose? And I don't know, like we can put you on the track to get you there in an efficient way, but there's no way to know how many pounds you're going to lose per week. And I mean, honestly, a sustainable weight loss is sometimes like half a pound to a pound a week, and that's very normal and that's great. And usually when you do things in a more or always when you do things in a more sustainable way, it's not going to come back. And yeah, I always ask them, I'm like, how has the quick fix, how has that worked for you? And it's like it hasn't. Like you're clearly, people are gaining and losing the same 15 pounds because they're trying to get the quick fix. So slow and steady wins the race. I do think people, I get it. I'm not a very patient person. So I come with my clients like, okay, let's get you on the most efficient goal track, but also patience. I know for my own journey, I have hit like little plateaus, and granted, it's only a few pounds I'm looking to lose, but that can still take months. I mean, for me to lose weight at the point that I am at, I mean, it could be 0.2 pounds a week, so that's normal.
Right. Well, that's the problem with people weighing themselves every day. Dr. Doug Lisle, who I'm sure you got to know when you did the McDougall
Yeah.
program, says you lose weight like 2 ounces of fat a day. And it took me, I'm 70 pounds lighter than my highest recorded weight because when I weighed 180, I kind of stopped weighing. I might have been more.
Okay.
But the thing is, it took me 27 months to lose 47 pounds,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's normal and that's sustainable. And look at, you've kept it off. And it's like, that says something.
Yeah, it's been like 12 years now with really
Yeah.
the fluctuations like 3 pounds up and down pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'm here for results with my clients, but I also want them to know like this is a journey, this is a process. Like I've been on this journey for 8 years, and and I'm very lucky that my clients who come to me, they do want this to be their lifestyle. So this isn't like, oh, they're just gonna try a plant-based diet for 9 weeks and go off of it. They do want this to work for life. So blessed to have that clientele.
My favorite thing is not that I've been able to maintain a lean body, is that I get to eat so much food, and it's
Food.
all carbohydrate. It's like,
I
potatoes,
know.
vegetables, fruit, but I mean, I like it like your dad at the prison. I mean, that's me, potatoes for the win.
Me too. I am a volume eater, and like even over my boyfriend, he looks at how much food I eat, and he even tells like his friends when it's cute when he like tries to explain how I eat to other people. He's like, she just eats like so much food, and that is why this works for me, because I've tried the little portions. And sure, you can lose weight on any diet, but I'm like that. It was never. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I want to eat food. And I'm like, how can I eat an abundance of food, maintain my body goals? Oh, it's, a high carbohydrate diet, low fat diet. So I'm pretty veggie heavy too. Like I would say, the quintessential 50-50 plate, but I even do more of like 60-40 plate where I'm like 60% veggie heavy. Just because, yeah. And I also just love my veggies.
There's nothing that brings a smile to my face more than when you have a young, pretty girl who really understands the starch solution, volume eating,
Yeah.
density. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. It's been
Yeah.
delightful talking to you. If people want to follow up with you, either to take your program or just see what you're up to, where would you like them to go?
Yeah, my Instagram, Plant First, is where you can find everything, or on my website, www.plantfirst.com. And if you go to the coaching page, you can scroll all the way down and schedule a free consultation so we can kind of talk over your goals and what you're looking for in kind of my program, so you can go that route as well.
That's cute. I'm just curious, now that you live closer to your family, are you the one making the holiday meals?
I usually make like a side or at least a meal, like a broccoli cheddar casserole kind of thing. And it's so funny because that meal's always the first to go. Everyone's always they're always like, well, what did Emily make? And because I didn't live in the same area during my cooking days, they never actually got to taste my food. So now that I'm home, and of course it's like when I'm out of the cooking motivation, but when I do cook it, everyone's like the first to go get it.
Do you miss San Diego in the warmer weather? I know I miss Southern California.
Yeah, I do. It's been like a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I'm still in transition, and I've like my world has opened up so much living here, but I mean, there's things that I'm not ready to go back to San Diego yet. Like it's too soon because I still have so much emotional attachment. And I think if I went back, I'd like really miss it. But I do. But I get snow skiing here and the mountains, and we're big outdoors people. So yeah, just the grass is greenest where you water it.
Right. Just to clarify, I only miss the weather in Southern California. I'm very happy there's a large vegan community. Is there even a vegan community or plant-based community where you live now?
Um, okay, I always like to say we're like 10 years behind like San Diego in the terms of like food and vegan. There is a Facebook app or Facebook group of Yakima, and it's like vegan vegetarians of Yakima. And there is a plant-based chef. She does like cooking classes, which I went to her cooking class. And there's a plant-based meal prep gal, and we met and we had coffee and chit-chatted about our meal prep days. So there are some people, I mean, nothing in volume like San Diego, but I've reached out to the vegans I know in this town, and we've all kind of like gotten together. And I think in 10 years it will be much more up and coming on how it's going right now.
Nice. Well, maybe you could start a meetup. That's what I did, and I've got
Yeah.
in it now.
Oh, really? 1,000 people?
Yeah, over 1,000. And we get together,
Wow.
we do meetups, we have SOS free restaurants, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, I
You
would
know what?
love that.
I just realized, you know who's in Yakima? Maybe you could connect with her. She's a plant-based pediatrician, Dr. Yami.
Yeah, Dr. Yami. We met up a couple times. We went to coffee, and she actually met up with me because I don't know how, when I first moved here, she DM'd me, and she was like, hey, are you in San Diego or Yakima? And I was like, I just moved back to Yakima. And so we ended up going to coffee. And then, yeah, so she's a bunch of my friends' pediatrician. So, and my aunt is a jazzercise instructor and she goes to her classes. So we all kind of know each other in this town.
It's very cool. What's your favorite food? Potatoes.
Uh, like I know this sounds so okay. The Hannah white sweet
That's
potato.
what I eat every day for lunch.
Yes,
Like 2 pounds, and I eat it with broccoli. That's my favorite food.
literally same. And every time I eat it, like I'm always just like, gosh, that was so good every time. And it's been years. I've eaten it like every single day. I'm so glad because when I moved from San Diego, I was scared they weren't going to have the Hannah yams in this town. They don't have the Japanese potatoes, but they have the Hannahs and only at one store. So I can still get them, thank goodness.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know what I would have. I would have to order them.
I always tell people if you live someplace without the white sweet potatoes, you gotta move.
You got them. I agree. Have you ordered the Hawaiian potatoes?
I have, and I find that they can be hit and miss. I get so
Yes.
upset because you'll have this box that you paid quite a bit of money for, and there'll be
Yeah.
a few good ones, and some of them just won't be good. They'll be dry or bad.
Yeah.
I love them, but there's been so hit and miss that I haven't ordered in a while.
Exact same. I think I've done it 3 times and had one really good box and the other two were like not so good. They're pretty dry. But my true blue is that Hannah sweet potato. It's like tastes like a cinnamon roll to me. I'll put like a little cinnamon
It's
on it.
so good. It's like eating
People,
dessert.
I know people don't understand. Like once you know, you know.
Like a girl after my own heart. It's so nice meeting you, Emily.
I
And
know. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so
it was a
excited.
lot of fun talking to you, and congratulations on your recovery. That was
Yeah.
so amazing. Just even that's a great story on its own.
Yeah. I know. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back soon for another great show.